We are now going to the hardest working woman in Lansing, I believe. Robin, is that you?
Hi there. How are you guys?
Good. Robin, yes. Robin, of course, is the chair. Where's my notes? But Robin is, of course,
legislative chairwoman of the
National
Patients' Rights.
Of course, I know. I'm just trying to get the right intro.
AKA Wonder Woman.
Everybody knows Robin, and I was trying to.
Hey, guys.
Okay. All right. So, tell us what's going on. You heard there's some of the behind the scenes activities. What would you how would you describe what's happening in terms of the discussions with MSP? Let's start there, if you would.
With the state police. Well, we did. We joined the CSG group with their meeting, and they had a list of things that they wanted clarified. It was the same list that they gave us right after break when the bills passed, and we had the work group. We had already agreed to those changes, and it was little things like the record keeping. For instance, the way the bill is written now, you have to keep a log or records of all transactions for 90 days, but the caregiver transfers are 50 ounces every 2 months, so that record keeping wouldn't necessarily be on the same timeline. So they recommended 6 months of record keeping, and my response to that was, if it's about coinciding with the caregiver transfers, then can we do 60 days of record keeping coinciding with the transfers? And they said that was fine with them, as long as if they have somebody who they think is supplying large quantities in excess of what they're allowed to, they want to make sure that that's consistent in the record keeping, and that they'd have access to those every 2 months if they needed that. So there was that, and then some of the definitions didn't exactly match up with the usable marijuana definition, but it was it wasn't anything too serious, and I know that the other members of the work group, CPU, had agreed that those were fair changes as well. So, we did get a chance to talk a little bit about some of the concerns that were raised in the hearing that had kind of caught me off guard. Things that they mentioned, such as banking. I think she said that there were not any reputable banks that would do business with marijuana businesses, and that there were not any reputable insurance companies that would insure. And so that was something that, I brought information on and discussed with her. And she, agreed that was something that, we were working out, and then conceded that, she works for the administration and, is likely to have to oppose the bill because her supervisor is likely to tell her to oppose the bill. So I think that, those are things that, she brought up in the hearing that may have just been to back their position of opposition.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because, I know that you would think that when they were in the House, and I know there was negotiating going on, and I remember specifically the debate of, 1 month to 3 months and resolving it to what have you, in terms of how frequently a caregiver could bring their 50 ounces to the provision center. But they were there and they were negotiating, and, what would seem like good faith that, we're going to do this and we're going to make adjustments, and we're going to tell you how we feel, and if you make the adjustments, we're going to move forward. And then you get to the Senate, they're like, well, really just kind of against it in general, and no matter what you've given up in good faith, we just clearly will never, ever. But I understand that, Ben had made the comment that if they feel that they can, well, they don't approve, at least they can regulate it, and have some clarity on some of these issues, then they at least they can say that or something. Is that how it's ultimately being resolved in the spirit of diplomacy?
Yeah, I mean, they can say that we all worked in good faith, but they're still going to oppose it. So, again, in the House, they opposed it, and, we worked in good faith, and we gave them several things that they asked for, and then on top of that, several more things, and then several more things. So, I think that, they're going to try to make it as favorable as they can for law enforcement, and, we're just trying to keep that within reason.
Understood. And does it bother you that, or I don't say bother you, but does it surprise you, or does it give you any inclination that the state police sees themselves as the enforcer of this law when it comes into play? Or do you think they see it as, this is my question about the surprise, as being something that will be enforced at the local level? You know what I mean? Like,
No, she actually mentioned that she doesn't really see them enforcing this at a local level, but that they're opposed to the issue itself as a police agency working for the administration with Bill Schuette as the top cop. So, no, she I think it was pointed out that the main concerns, of course, are going to be large-scale operations, cartel activities, interstate transport. Those are going to be the kinds of things where, they or even the feds would get involved. Some of these other issues, they're going to be more local issues, and they're going to be something that local law enforcement would need to respond to.
It's fascinating. I know that's it's a common. That's a law enforcement position. They didn't create that themselves. It's like I think straight out of the recent federal government's position on Colorado and whatnot. But it's interesting though, because I like to believe that just the act, in and of itself, of the legislature taking steps to
Are you there, Michael?
Thanks very much for bearing with us, folks. It was just some technical difficulties here in the studio.
Hey, Rick, I'm here.
There you go. Well, go ahead.
Okay, Robin, you're live with us. Thanks again. So sorry for the delay, and thanks very much for bearing with us.
It's okay. Everybody okay there?
Yep. Yeah, we're all fine. It was not an electrical storm or a tsunami or anything.
Did Michael McShane?
It was like
it was like any electrical.
The internet radio equivalent of it.
They've changed something in the matrix. They've changed something in the matrix.
No, but we were actually talking about the hearing today, and Robin, I thought you and everyone, we all did a good job of the testimony. I thought even the state police officer verified that saliva testing is not scientifically valid yet.
Correct. That's right. That's something that I thought was interesting is he actually said that they were looking to the future. This was forward thinking, and that the tests have not been proven to be reliable yet, and that they want to do a pilot program here in Michigan. And, our thought on that is that before you do a pilot program where you're going to start arresting people with a test that has 0 proven results, let's perfect the science before you use it to arrest somebody. So, NPRA, our organization, let me just be very clear. Like, we want safe roads. I mean, I'm a mother of 4. Everybody has the right to drive on safe roads and not have to worry about somebody, ramming into them when they're high on drugs or drunk on alcohol. And I take that very seriously. I absolutely despise drunk drivers. And you'll never find me behind the wheel stoned. I just won't do it. In fact, I have a girlfriend who's lit up in my car, and I literally pulled over and screamed at her to put it out and get it out of my car. I take that very, very seriously. And so I understand the concern, but, we need to rely on what we've always relied on, which is drug recognition evaluations. Now, if a police officer pulls you over and your eyes are glazed and you smell like marijuana and you look like you're stoned and they do the little flashlight in your eyes and they say, get out of the car, and they suspect that you are impaired, then they need to arrest you right then. It's not a matter of let's do another test. The arrest needs to be made, and you need to be taken in and a blood test done, and it's really that simple. So we're talking about a new test that doesn't have the science to back it. In fact, I used the example today in the hearing of it's more like a pregnancy test. And I didn't realize how popular that phrase was going to become because I had reporters calling me saying, did you really compare this to a pregnancy test? And I said, I did, and it's not a joke. I'm being serious. This is, not anything like a breathalyzer test. This is a, false or positive. Yes, you have, marijuana in your system, or no, you don't. And, we know that medical marijuana patients are going to have trace amounts of marijuana in their system, and we want their arrest to hinge on a proven, long-used system, which is drug recognition evaluations, and that's the proper way to do this.
I understand the dilemma that you're in, but I don't think drug recognition expertise is a long proven anything, and I think that, and I don't mean to argue, but what isn't a better way to do it to actually, instead of is to
prove impairment.
Prove impairment. I mean,
I
instead
agree.
of per se limits, and the blood testing should be, it's maybe one of the factors that could be sent, but it shouldn't be per se. There's a huge difference there. Per se 0.08 means if it's over 0.08, you're presumed drunk at that time or above the legal limit, and it doesn't matter at that point how bad you're driving.
That's contemplated by the bill that was discussed today, though. And although those are the ideal circumstance we'd want, that was not really an option that was before the committee today.
But even though I didn't let Robin ask the first question, let me ask her another one. Just kidding. Go ahead, answer your question.
Okay, so I would say, though, to prove impairment, it's a combination of the drug recognition evaluation, it's the roadside test, was the vehicle swerving, did you hop the curb while you were driving? I mean, it's a number of things to prove impairment, and to rely on a test prove impairment is it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's going in the wrong direction.
Here's my question. Here's the question. This other caller that was on earlier, Doug McVay, he pointed out, and it was very, 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 prohibitive about alcohol and being even more strict with prohibition moving forward. And he pointed out that, with the lowering of the level of intoxication or per se levels from 0.10 to 0.08, you've seen a reduction in alcohol-related fatalities, and you can just use this over a period of time. In fact, anyone that's ever and have seen the crazy YouTube videos of someone being intoxicated, that it becomes almost comical, but sad but comical at how silly they're acting, because they're so intoxicated. Those aren't the ones involving some bad police activity. I'm talking about the ones where someone is truly intoxicated. As you sit down to discuss the concerns with the state police, are they pointing out those same kind of incidences? I mean, are there numbers of fatalities? Is there?
No. In fact, the fatalities that inspired this package of legislation, it had nothing to do with marijuana. It had to do with prescription pills, and and this brings me to another point. We're not asking for an exemption for medical marijuana patients, and what we're asking is they do not implement a test that is not accurate. Okay, so we asked them to remove the word saliva from the bill. Now, when we spoke with the bill sponsor after the hearing today, he said he agreed with us. He said, we don't need to start a pilot program until the science has been perfected for these tests. So he was going to consider removing saliva completely, and that's how things were left today. Well, now Rep. Carlton is talking about giving an amendment to exempt medical marijuana patients, so now we're going to have to show our card to get out of taking this test. That, it's going to come up positive for probably, 99% of patients are going to come up positive for the test. And, we're saying, no, we're saying don't use a test to arrest people that is not, a scientifically proven, good test.
It's not a valid test, right? And Robin,
No.
just to underscore what you'd said, the MichiganRadio.org published a story by Virginia Gordon where they quoted Representative Lars, where he said, quote, "I think we're going to see an amendment that would allow a medical marijuana user to produce their card if they were pulled over, and that would exempt them from the saliva test,"
right.
he said, unquote. So that's
was
not only
consistent with 6G.
not only with was Representative Carlton mentioning it, but also the bill sponsor said that in media too. So you're absolutely correct with that.
Right. So, and that's, I believe, Rep. Carlton's solution to this. Our solution to this is removing saliva from the bill. That's our request, and we were under the impression that was going to happen. So, I guess we'll follow up and continue to work for that.
Final question: do you see a timeline here for the Provisioning Center?
Well, I'll tell you, at our last hearing, Senator Richardville had mentioned a date of April 24th. Whether or not he will stick to the timeline that he laid out for us in that hearing is to be seen. We certainly hope that he will. But, I think that I've actually had some calls from some reporters today who are going to be following up with his office to see if he's going to follow through with that date or not. But I think, I'm hopeful that it'll get done and worked out by summer. He's indicated to our lobbyists that he doesn't want to hold this up and, just would like to make some quick changes and get a move on it. But, again, it hasn't been scheduled yet, so we're, of course, asking everybody to continue to call their legislators, to meet with their legislators, to call Senator Richardville's office and let them know that this bill is important to you or your loved ones, the parents going and meeting with their senators, of course, and asking the senators who are concerned with our issue, who support us, to continue to ask Senator Richardville, and that's the best thing that I think we can do is just keep the pressure on, remind him that we're here, and that this is important to us. So that's keep those cards going in. I know that Rick worked so hard on the ASA cards. Keep those going in, and just keep the pressure on, and that's the best I think we can do.
Good reporting, Robin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. We have to. We don't have to. But I want to thank you very much for reporting in, and interesting topic. And we look forward to hearing more as things develop. Thanks a lot. We're going to talk.